So I'm Terence Youell. I was diagnosed with oligodendroglioma about 7 years ago, and hopefully I can tell you a bit about my journey. In 2016, I had an annual medical checkup, and part of that involved an eye test, and I noticed a bit of blurriness in my right eye. So I mentioned it to the doctor, and they organised to get some eye checks done. Being in the military, it involved further checks because I was aircrew. So they sent me to an ophthalmologist, Celia Chen. She decided to do an MRI on my optic nerve to make sure that there was nothing sinister going on there. In that scan, they, well, luckily for me, found the tumour in the scan. So turns out that the symptoms that I was experiencing with my vision is just me getting old and needing to wear glasses at some point. So it was very fortunate that I had that checkup, and they incidentally found this tumour. From then, it was pretty much just a watch and wait situation. It wasn't affecting me. I wasn't getting any significant symptoms. I was able to live my life pretty normally. So it involved, at first, 3 monthly scans with MRI. So did that, and then it pushed out to about a 6-month time frame for scans. And then probably maybe 3 years ago, I actually ended up deciding to get a second opinion, just sort of, you know, hedge my bets, I guess. And that's when I met Dr. Aberhamden, and she had a look at my case and pretty much said, let's get in there and see what we're dealing with, because we didn't actually have a diagnosis. So I had surgery done with her. Because of where it is, it wasn't able to be removed, so they just did a biopsy, took a few samples of it, and got the diagnosis. And then I think maybe a month later started chemotherapy. Did 6 months initially of that, and I actually handled it very, very well. I didn't really have too many significant side effects from it. So when I got to the 6 months point, my oncologist said, look, maybe we can stretch it out for another couple of months, just to sort of give it the biggest dose that we can, I guess. And thankfully, there's been no detected growth since then, so pretty lucky in that regard. Initially, I was referred to Andrew Zacest, and he was very good with you know, trying to basically keep me at ease with everything, especially when we didn't know what we were dealing with, you know, just doing the watch and wait type situation. I ended up later on seeing Dr. Amal Aberhamden, and she ended up being my surgeon for the surgery that I had. And I've seen her pretty much every 6 months since then. She's been actually fantastic because she's got a very personable character. It was very good for my partner at the time. You know, she quite often would get quite emotional with a lot of these things, and there's a lot of compassion that she shares with her patients, which, you know, I really appreciate in that regard. My neurologist, Dr. James Layden, he has been very good with dealing with the side effects, like the neurological side effects of the treatment and subsequent seizures and things like that. And Dr. Singhal was my oncologist when I was going through treatment down at the Icon Cancer Clinic. Very great team down there. Like, I can't speak highly enough of people over at all the hospitals and treatment centres that I've been to. So. Some of the things I've found really helpful in my journey has been the importance of preventative mental health. I think a lot of people these days wait for something to go wrong before they go and see a mental health professional. The way I kind of look at it is you should go to the dentist regularly to prevent anything happening I think people should go see a mental health professional regularly, preventatively, because at the time I got my diagnosis, I didn't really know what to expect. I didn't really know what my journey was going to entail. I basically went to the the RAF base medical centre and self-referred to the mental health team. And they were able to give me many tools that I still use today with just maintaining a regular and healthy mental health state. I think one of the other things I find really helpful is talking about it. I know a lot of people find it really difficult to talk about their health situation. I've spoken to a lot of people who have been in similar situations as I have, whether it's tumour or stroke or other brain injuries. And I find a lot of people, understandably, don't like to talk about it. But for me personally, I find it really helpful to talk to people about it because it makes it real. It's not a secret, it's not a thing to hide from people. It has become part of who I am. So for me, talking about it helps me acknowledge what I'm dealing with daily. Probably one of the most important things about my journey has been talking to people about it. And I know for a lot of people it can be quite uncomfortable. So there's plenty of other support groups and networks out there that you can go check out. If you're not really comfortable talking with friends and family about it, there's a lot of people out there that share similar journeys to you, and just getting in contact with those people in those groups. I know the NRF have a lot of groups like that as well that you can check out. Because at the end of the day, I can either choose to be sad or upset about my diagnosis, or I can choose to be happy and embrace it. One of the ways I look at it is, people work their whole life to reach retirement age so they can enjoy the last 20 years of their life. In my case, I might be facing 20 years left of my life, and I've got to face that now and say, why do I need to wait until I'm 50 or 60 before I start enjoying my life? Just enjoy it now, because you never know what tomorrow brings. So I think that's one of the biggest things that I've found that helps me keep positive. And also people that I speak to who are going through similar journeys to me, I try to remind them that, life is worth living at the moment, even though times can suck and, things can be pretty bad. But, you're alive today, just embrace it. So I first found out about the NRF through a friend of mine at work, Russell Adams. I'd met his younger brother, Chris, also known as Critter, a couple of times through some social events, and had heard about his diagnosis through his brother, who I worked with in the Air Force. And shortly after he passed away, I got my diagnosis. And so his brother Russell was someone that I reached out to originally when I didn't really know what to expect. He kind of lived that quite recently, and when I asked him one day, I said, I really want to start paying it forward a bit, start doing something for the cause, I guess. And I'd heard originally that he'd done some fundraising events. I went to a movie premiere, I think it was the Independence Day movie night, and I really enjoyed that. And so I had a chat to him, and he put me onto the NRF. And I know that his parents, Cherrie and Marty, have been doing a lot of work through the NRF, and it was quite an inspiration for me as well. So I felt it was a good team to align myself with, and yeah, I started my first fundraiser with a quiz night, and it's been one of those organisations that I've been comfortable with. I talk to Ginta a lot, and she's helped me a fair bit with organising these fundraising events. So I've got a few more ideas in there that I'm throwing around, and who knows, we'll see what comes up next. One of the other things that I found really great about the NRF was that it was a South Australian organisation, and I was really impressed to find that NRF donates 100% of the money that they raise into these research projects. which I think is fantastic. It's pretty impressive that an organisation such as the NRF can say that, and hand on heart say that 100% goes to those research projects. So I've only recently found out about Grey May and what it's about. I think it's a really great message for people because it's a journey that's not going to end anytime soon. And the more people that are aware of brain cancer and the research that's going into it, if I could say if I could give a message to anybody, it would just be keep fighting. You know, whether it's researchers, surgeons, doctors, patients, just keep fighting because it's a fight we're going to win one day. It might not be tomorrow, but you know, the more we all get involved and the more we throw at this disease, the more that we have a chance of beating it. I think for me at the moment, it's just about maintaining a happy life balance. You know, there's been ups and downs, absolutely, and every 6 months, when I get my scans done, you know, the anxiety goes up a little bit. But every day at the moment, I just choose to be happy, you know, forming new relationships. I have a bit of a blended family going on at the moment, so 4 kids running around the place. 5 if you include the eldest, who's not here at the moment. But yeah, it's something that I am conscious of every day to just make the effort to enjoy life and share life with people. You know, there were times when you know, I felt that my diagnosis might prevent me from having successful relationships in the future. Because nobody wants to put anybody through this, you know. Whilst I didn't choose to get my diagnosis, but in my mind I kind of felt that I could choose not to let people into my life and be affected by it. But very quickly I realised that was not going to be a good thing for me. I need people in my life, you know, and you know, my partner now, we are both very happy, both aware of, you know, our life's journeys together, and we both choose very consciously to make the most of it every day.